This KFAN podcast is sponsored by Builders and Remodelers, exclusive Twin Cities provider of Elements Windows. Get the highest quality windows at unmatchable value. Visit buildersandremodelers.com for more details.
Gatorade Zero, the #1 proven electrolyte blend, made with zero sugar. Designed to hydrate better than water so you can lose more sweat and push more limits. Gatorade Zero. Is it in you?
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
Get to some text in a minute responding to our conversation the last 15 minutes of the first hour of the Bumper to Bumper program. Barreiro and Garzi with you till 6:30 tonight. Johnny Athletic will join at about 5:30 or so. We'll be at Vikings training camp on our first day will be Thursday. And Kevin O'Connell, the quarterback whisperer, will be among our guests from the perch. Sounds like it's going to be fairly warm and fairly moist the rest of the week. Tomorrow, I think it's supposed to hit 90 and very high dew point.
Yep.
And a lot of rain. You know, I think it's one of those, not like all day rain, but like in and out, thunderstorms popping up, that kind of thing. Very volatile weather.
Yes.
We've been at
angry skies
at TCO for very angry weather. Remember, we had to actually.
Last year?
Was it last year we had to move indoors?
Yes,
and
with
then
Kessler.
we had to deal with a flood.
The VIP tent was flooding.
VIP tent, yeah.
We were bringing out
We faced possible electrocution.
Definitely did.
And turned out okay.
We brought in a bunch of towels, and we were taking tablecloths. We were fending off the rain. We were heroic that day. Just the three of us.
I think we were. I don't know that we ever got the citations we deserved, but we did certainly try to bring that to everybody's attention.
Kessler, you, and me. I just forgot about that until now.
Per Caitlin Clark, her biggest strength is her shooting ability, correct? Well, no. Actually, her greatest strength is her passing, but go ahead. It would only be fair if you would read off her shooting stats, both regular and three-point shooting this year, and where she ranks in the WNBA.
Because why?
Pretty widely accepted she can't guard much. Maybe it's time. Well, I would say to 701 guy, if he thinks he's got us, but he got him. I've brought up the 2 for 35 from three-point range on the road stat from Caitlin Clark this year about 7 times. We have no difficulty following the story on this program. So I'm not sure. Is this written by a WNBA player? This might be a WNBA star who sent this in. I'm not exactly sure.
Kelsey Plum.
We have brought up several times. Caitlin. I think the headline I used last time I talked about was Caitlin Clark in crisis, shooting terribly on the road from long range. Can't stay healthy all of a sudden. Right? She's had like 4 different injuries. Her overall stats still actually aren't bad. Her team's, basically hovering around 500, I think. I don't think anybody's running from the truth at all. So I'm not sure. So explain to 715 guy or 701 guy what you're looking for from us. Is it we're afraid to ever criticize Caitlin Clark? We have several times. I will say the weekend was interesting in that she ended up getting. I mean, she was guilted by association, right? Who was it? Plum? Who was the player who let it slide? That, by the way, none of the members of Team Clark were in on the meeting that apparently led to the wearing of the warm-up shirts that the WNBA players wore, and I should have gotten the
Kelsey Plum.
Yes, but
yeah.
What did the shirt? We double check.
It was, and this is disappointing because they kind of stepped on the producers of KFAN's touchdown call for the State Fair T-shirt for us. Pay us what you owe us. We had that one, but we didn't do it, and now people are going to think we're copying the WNBA.
You had it first.
I think we did.
Pay us what you owe us.
Pay us what you owe us was the shirt.
And so the implication was that even though everybody on Team Clark, including Clark, wore the shirt, she had somehow let them down by not attending that particular meeting. I don't know. I just sometimes I shake my head. This is a league, as far as I'm concerned, that continues to show signs that it doesn't know how to get out of its own way. And by that, I don't mean the players don't have a right to get whatever they can and to be vocal about it and to be very demonstrative about what they're after and being very verbal, because what you claim you'll accept isn't always the same as what you will accept. But that's sort of the way the game is played. That's not the first time that's happened. But if I'm being honest, if I'm Clark, I'm not sure I would have wanted to be in on the meeting, because too many players in this league still refuse to acknowledge the fact that part of the reason that the players, a significant part of the reason the players in the position they're in maybe to have a bit of more of a hammer, is what Clark did to transform the league a year ago. If I'm her, I might not want to play patty cake with other players in that situation. I have no idea why she was not in the meeting or in the meeting, whatever. There's always the question of overplaying your hand, right? The calculations that go into your approach, how verbal you get. Pay us what you owe us. So you go down that road, and what you then have to be prepared for is you're kind of asking people to say, well, that's a good question. What does the WNBA owe these players? Well, how financially lucrative is this league? How much money does this league make? It's going in a better direction. New TV contract, I think, for the WNBA that kicks in next year is hugely bigger than the previous one.
It's massive.
One would assume then there is going to be more money to go around if you're going to do the percentage of the gross, all that kind of stuff. But the fact of the matter is, this is a league that as recently as this last year lost $40 million. Some people think it's 50. It depends on who you want to talk to. And so you gotta calculate all that out about how far are we going to go? Because those questions are fair to ask. And by the way, you don't even really see that. Too many of the stories I've seen don't even bring that part of it up. You don't even have to take a position on whether the players are vastly or badly underpaid and how much more money they should make. If you're doing the story, you've got to do all aspect of the economics of the story, not just the price through the roof for expansion franchises being obviously a sign of there's money to be had here.
Yes.
Or people wouldn't buy them at those prices, right?
Yes.
All of that's true. But all of it has to be factored into, well, is this still largely a subsidized league, or is this a league literally that could break away completely, have nothing to do with the NBA, and be every bit as lucrative and financially in as good a position? The answer is no. Maybe soon. They're headed in that direction, but not yet. And I'll throw this your way, too. I didn't watch much, because I'm not an all-star game guy.
You and I share that.
And we share that. I think a lot of people are in that mode now. But what I've read and what I've been told by people who did watch it was, sadly, a league that I think has rightly said, we don't want to do things a certain way just because NBA players do. We're not in any obligation to follow that's the model. We always have to do what they do. We want to be ourselves. We're not interested in following anybody else. But what it sounds like happened is the WNBA players did an impeccable impression of many of the last 5 NBA All-Star games when it comes to lack of defensive effort. In fact, there was a quote, there was a soundbite I heard during the game from Paige Beckers, sideline reporter guy, trying to be funny about it, says to Beckers, what would your head coach say, Gino, would say about, the style of play here and even the defense played? And Beckers gave him what he wanted, which was, he'd think this was ridiculous. This is awful. So they're not guarding anybody. Now we're making some shots. We're not guarding anybody. So I'm scratching my head and I'm going, well, you're right. You're trying to make this big stand with your warm-ups about, what we are owed and we need to be taken more seriously. And then you go out and you basically copy what too many NBA teams, NBA All-Star games have been like. Just turn defense into a travesty. I don't know the final score in this game, but it was well over 100. They're in the hundreds. I know that. I'm not sure. To me, that's not being smart about whatever your message is that you've just tried to convey on the basis of the shirts that you've worn. It's like, well, I mean, pay us what we deserve for regular season. We don't mean All-Star game because we don't. And then the comeback again after the game was, well, if we didn't play so many games in such short time, like we're playing again Tuesday. Some of us are playing Tuesday. Some of us are playing Wednesday. So maybe there would have been greater effort. I'll say again that there are so many examples I have of this league that makes me feel like they want to be ready for prime time, but then the actions and the behavior indicates that many of the players still want this to be their little cult where they don't have to worry about answering tough questions or crossing over into the kind of cultural place where then there is big money maybe to be had and you have a chance to go in a different direction. So you didn't watch any of it either, is that
correct? Consistent with the All-Star game and consistent with NBA All-Star game, Major League Baseball, all of it. It's kind of my All-Star stance. 151-131 Team Collier outlasted Team Clark, by the way. On the Plum thing, I don't understand what the point of that is. Like,
to call her out.
I know, but it makes no sense.
Right.
So when, let's say it wasn't even Team Clark or it wasn't Caitlin. First of all,
I don't think she'd bring it up if it wasn't Team Clark. You know that, and I know. Who are we kidding?
I know. Well, I'm just trying to think, though.
But it's true.
Because if anything, this weekend, even if you're not all united and didn't attend every single meeting, and there were some, the Lynx players, Williams and Heidemann, that do the Stud Buds live stream that everybody loves now. It's just all anybody wants to watch is their live stream of basically their lives, and they did it all weekend in Indy. It was very entertaining from the clips that I saw. There were a bunch of different Players Association meetings that it seemed like people were kind of in and out of. It wasn't just the T-shirt one. There was negotiations and all this stuff.
Right.
Regardless, if you are looking to make this big stand, even if you're not fully united or you weren't taking perfect attendance at every single meeting, you should at least project that publicly, don't you think?
Yeah, 100%.
At the end of the weekend,
yes.
Why would we want that little schism to be public at all? I don't think that we would. What does that serve?
Well, I would say I might feel differently about it. I might even understand it more if Clark or if it wasn't her, several of her teammates didn't wear the shirt.
Right.
They all wore the shirt.
Right.
So to me, it comes off as more small-mindedness aimed at sticking the knife in her. And again, that's the irony of Clark can't play it this way, obviously. We know that. But if she could in another world, and they asked her about it, she'd say, well, why would I want to go to a meeting where I still got a bunch of my teammates, some of the best players in the world, who still have not acknowledged that whether it's fair or not, my presence is what has more than anything else gotten this league to a place where it can think bigger thoughts. It's just true. It doesn't even matter whether it's fair or right. She can't say that. I mean, she's got to continue to play. Mm-hmm. But in all seriousness, it's like, well, why do you even want to bother to go down that road? A couple texts. Nobody is using All-Star Game D in CBA negotiations. No, I get that. But there's a significant... The WNBA, for all of the progress it's made, is not in the same powerful position that the NBA is. And by the way, the NBA does get savage.
Every year.
And to the point where now they're changing the format again. They're continuing to try to come up with, I don't know, it could be deck chairs Titanic. It may not matter. But they continue to get ripped for it. It's not even a matter of whether it's CBA negotiations. It's public relations. 952 guy. It's being smart. about the possibility that people might put this stuff together at a point where you're trying to make a statement about it's time for us. That's all. Obviously, you don't make the decision on the basis of an NBA or WNBA All-Star game to that point. 507 guy, WNBA missed the mark by wearing the T-shirts and then going out and putting on a poor exhibition. Biggest complaint about All-Star games is they aren't competitive. Change the format, have the winning team get $1 million split up, $500K to the losing team. They get paid. They play a competitive game. That might be, I don't know. I mean, I don't even, I've reached a point where I don't think there is an answer on any of these All-Star games, although the baseball All-Star game was pretty good. And maybe baseball is the one sport, just by the nature of the way the game is played, that you have a better chance at having something that still feels less like
it's hard to mail it
competition. Yeah, exactly.
It's hard to mail it in baseball-wise.
Money loss is an owner talking point in antagonistic negotiations. Look at franchise values, Dan. Well, if a league-wide is still in the red, then all I'm saying is you have to understand what you invite. Once your rhetoric gets as tough as the rhetoric is about what we are owed, what we have coming to us, and all that means all aspects of the economic model are worthy of scrutiny, and you're almost demanding that more of that scrutiny take place as well. Another Caitlin Clark victimhood segment is better than spontaneous combustion. Well, this segment's really been less about Caitlin Clark victimhood and more about WNBA players shooting themselves in the foot, quite frankly, in a way that, again, I don't think I still think there's, in terms of leadership, there's not much of an understanding and if you want to call that making it about Clark's victimhood, you can, if that's what you prefer. We're not making up the comments. We're not manufacturing this stuff. It's all out there. I believe me, in my perfect world, there is no need to have any of these discussions about Clark and about the way other players have reacted to her, and that she's been put into a victim situation. The material is out there. And as long as there are WNBA players and leaders who are going to continue to spin this nonsense and stoke the fires of this crap, then I guess we could ignore it. But we're just sitting there. For me, I'm just observing. I don't have any sort of need to go into victimhood mode, but I'm still curious why it continues to be it seems as if sort of the mantra, sometimes behind the scenes, sometimes more publicly, of leaders and really good players in this league. I have no idea. That's what you should be talking about here, man. That's the mystery. And so I don't really think there's there's not any screaming on this. There's not a lot of spontaneous combustion. I think it's not my obsession. It's the league's obsession. And it's the league's ongoing frustration and resentment that they think they should already have been further along without the need to have one player galvanized to the degree that Clark has to her first year. And again, the irony here in year two is the Caitlin Clark story from a basketball standpoint this year.
Not a good one.
It's not a good one. It's been very disappointing on a number of levels because of injury, because of the shooting issues, et cetera. And so there's no hesitation to evaluate year two of Caitlin Clark, but there's still, I mean, you tell me, what's the other reason to bring up gratuitously the thing about, well, they weren't in the meet, whatever the meeting
I don't know.
I
don't know. Because I think a lot of people, too, at least for me.
And maybe, by the way, is it possible some of those players didn't think it was a very good strategy? But then they're stuck.
Sure.
Or maybe they're every bit as pro-union, pro-players as the ones who got the shirts out, but they say, I don't like the strategy. I don't think it's a smart strategy. We can argue about that. I wasn't offended by it.
No, I wasn't.
It's part of the rhetoric that we often get. And again, rhetoric is one thing. The question is what you're really willing to accept. And I do think that if the players really go to the mat to the degree that they're speaking, I think there's a chance there's going to be a really significant stoppage. Don't you?
Yes.
I really do.
Well, and I think this is the time for them to do it and force the hand like that. Like, because of what we have talked about, the new TV deal that's coming, the valuations of these franchises, the expansion of the league. This is the time to do everything that they're doing right now. But what's interesting is one of the main reasons why they're in this position to do it, they still couldn't help but throw under the bus a time or two over the weekend. That's what I totally get. Like, I have no problem with them at this moment right now saying this is what we're going to fight for. And the 9%, I think it is, of the revenues or whatever it is, that's not going to be good enough this next time around, especially when you factor in what the NBA is doing. We want more of it. I don't know what they're going to get, but this is what they should be doing.
No question.
This is 100% what they should be doing when they have this type of leverage. But to then throw the biggest leverage chip you have under the bus for something as silly as the meeting about the shirts doesn't make a ton of sense.
But they've never, but you know this, there's many of those players have never, they will never acknowledge that piece of it. Do you think? I don't think they will.
If I was Caitlin Clark,
it's too painful for them. We've seen it in too many passive aggressive ways because it's the chip on the shoulder that we were so damn good already. We're better than people think, which is not wrong. I think it was.
Yeah.
But if at some point you have to grow up and get past that. If your goal is what you say it is, that everybody gets lifted, at some point you have to get past that. And I still think for some players, it's a major issue. Even if they don't maybe talk about it as much as they did, grumble about it as actively as they did last year. That to me was a perfect example of I don't need to really say this. I don't have, you know what, but I'm going to throw it in anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Tim Clark.
If I was Clark and I got wind that there was bitterness that we weren't at that meeting, I would have printed out the stories from like Friday that said ticket prices plummeting because Caitlin Clark's not participating, and just
check the rating.
Dropped it on the chair and said, "Are we doing this? Like, are we doing this in my adopted hometown of Indy? Is this what we're doing? Like, I'm trying to be a good soldier here, but what are we doing?"
That's the mentality of a league, no matter what lip service it gets, that does not really want to cross over culturally. They just want their own little fiefdom, and they want to decide who we can approve of and who we can't. And that's not going to get you to the big time, man. So then if you're fine not getting the big time, then you can't quite squawk as much about the money either.
You want to give away some money?
Let's give away some money on our way out here late.
The Fan and BigDeck.com want to give you a shot to win bonus bucks. It is our national cash contest. The 4 o'clock keyword is check. Go to KFAN.com and enter the keyword check.
A lot of good text coming in. Bradshaw and Brian KFAN text line is open at 64686. Johnny Athletic in about an hour. My plan is to talk some Vikings with him, a little less about the National Basketball Association. We've got news on the march to get to, a lot of vivid items there with even a little bit of sound as well. Maybe we even come back with a little news on the march.
Gatorade Zero, the #1 proven electrolyte blend, made with zero sugar. Designed to hydrate better than water so you can lose more sweat and push more limits. Gatorade Zero. Is it in you?
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
Arch, stay tuned. then this follows up on a story that broke, I believe, late during Friday's show. The attorneys for State Senator Nicole Mitchell said she will resign her seat within 2 weeks, which will allow Governor Tim Walz to call a special election that will determine the balance of power in the Senate. Remember, the Democrats currently control the Senate by 34-33. That's fairly razor thin. Even I can do that math, right? You lose that vote, and it's 33-33.
Right.
Mitchell, of course, was found guilty Friday of first-degree burglary and felony possession of burglary tools after her 2024 arrest for breaking into her stepmother's home in Detroit Lakes. There's some people saying, oh, wait a minute, what's the delay here? And the response via a member of the Ringstrom DeCray law firm, she's going to tie up the loose ends related to her seat. She's going to make sure it's in good working order for the next person who sits in it. And she's going to take care of the people that worked with her and her children so that she can transition as smoothly as possible into being a private citizen. That sounds a little word saladish to me, but there are staffers, I guess, who might be affected here as well to a certain degree. Walz is expected to call a special election once Mitchell resigns. So there we have it. And she had said, I think we quoted Friday, a couple of people saying that she had said all along this is what she was going to do, correct? If she was found guilty.
Yep, she had said it.
That she was going to do it. So then it's, okay, how long does it take for the special election to be set up? It's assumed it would be called before the next legislative session in February for all the obvious reasons, including giving the Democrats an opportunity to hold their rather narrow majority. One possible candidate to replace Mitchell, according to StarTribune.com, is former Rep. Kelly Fenton, a Republican who represented a nearby district in the House in the late 2010s. She asked on X after Friday's verdict, is now a good time to make a big announcement? So there you have it. That's on the Nicole Mitchell story, now inevitable. And now I don't know if we have an actual specific date, but I thought I read somewhere it might be like August 4, but just within the next, that would be, I guess, within the next couple of weeks, right? What's the date today?
Today's the 21st, so that'd be a couple Mondays from now, I believe.
So stay tuned for more on that. We had, did you happen to catch anything? We got a DFL endorsement of the Democratic Socialist candidate.
I saw this over the weekend.
For mayor of Minneapolis. Omar Fateh is the winner.
So this was the pastrami sandwich bit,
This
right?
was the pastrami sandwich bit, exactly right, where the pastrami was, what do we say, 70?
Yeah, the kebabs, I think, were 50.
55 for the kebab, and I think 60 or 65 for the Wiener Schnitzel.
I wonder how many they sold.
Or the Schnitzel sandwich. It's a great question. Well, but then they said they were going to pay for it on a declining scale.
That's right, a sliding scale.
Sliding scale. All right, so here's what, again, now it's worth noting that I think Jacob Fry's people, they left in a huff earlier than when the final DFL endorsement came in. There are people that, among the theories from the political wonks, one of them is that this is likely to actually energize Fry's people more than anybody else. I don't know that I have a good handle at all, if I ever did, on Minneapolis politics at this point, because Minneapolis politics has clearly changed to a place where in 2025, Jacob Fry is like Barry Goldwater. Now, that's a pretty dated reference. Barry Goldwater was a hardcore righty presidential candidate back in 1964. And I'm making the point that, I don't think anybody would mistake Jacob Fry for Barry Goldwater politically. And yet, in the current climate, city council climate, et cetera, it's almost as if he's a hardcore righty compared to some of the individuals that he is vying with and competing against, and even having dealt with on the city council. And I guess, well, who had a good quote on this? Let me see if I can. I thought I saved it. Let me see if I did, because it would be helpful. Here we go. Kelsey Plum shades Caitlin Clark for not attending Pay Us What You Owe Us t-shirt meeting. That was in there. I forgot to get to that earlier. Did I save it? Well, maybe I didn't. But the bottom line was that when you watched, I saw some video of the event. It was at Target Center. And basically, at one point, they were kind of like up against the clock because I think they only had, I think they were going to have to clear out at Target Center at a certain time, right? And so it was almost like, well, we better endorse somebody or else we're going to have a problem. But when I saw the video, it looked like there were 8 people in the crowd. Mm-hmm. And I'm exaggerating just a little bit. But it gets back to, it gets back to, do both parties do themselves a disservice when you feel like at least at this point, and again, this doesn't assure anything, but you get the feeling that this is another example of so few people in the end influencing the direction that in this case the DFL endorsement goes, and you go, what's wrong with this picture? Are these folks representative of anybody? Here's the tweet I was looking for. It was your guy Pat Garofalo. Well, he's responding to a couple of tweets. You can't get endorsed by a badge count in a competitive race when there are 800 delegates. If anyone says they're DFL endorsed, then everyone should. And Garofalo's reply, the caucus process in both parties has turned into a circus. I'd love to make fun of this DFL mess, but remember, the GOP endorsed Royce White. So there's plenty of foolishness to go around. Let's hope voters demand the parties flush the caucuses down the political toilet. I can't disagree with that.
It seems like a time gone by with the caucus.
Honestly, because you go, well, wait a minute, what do we do? Who are these people? There's like 22 people in the crowd. And as StarTribune.com pointed out, let me see if I can get to some of the, an example of how goofy this whole thing seemed to be. It's worth highlighting that the whole day hinged on a voting system that raised a lot of eyebrows. The Fry campaign is appealing the result to the state DFL. Delegates voted electronically on their phones through a process that seemed to be getting its first big test at the convention. That's what could possibly go wrong. Confirmation email supposedly landed in spam folders, which was merely the first hiccup. Midway through the first ballot, someone noted that there was no option for no endorsement. So then organizers added the option and told people they could update their votes. It would all be handled on the back end. Does this sound real? I mean, does this sound... you just sort of shake your head on this thing and you go, what, is this... It just feels like it's a rather closed environment. Now, it's not, I guess, technically. I assume anybody can get in on this, but... results read 2 hours later after the convention dealt with some park board endorsement business. Fateh won about 44%, Fry 32%, Davis 19.93%. Fry supporters wondered why the number of votes counted way so much lower than the number of potential delegates and alternates who could have voted. This sounds in the weeds, but it was a big question as I made the rounds. It doesn't sound like it's in the weeds. That is a big question, is it not? And then before the second ballot, the Fry campaign said the first ballot should be redone using paper. That's a quaint thought. Back to paper? That failed. Convention rejected proposals to wrap up with no endorsement. So then Fry's campaign yanked its supporters. This is a trick sometimes used to deny the convention quorum, as happened in 2013 when Betsy Hodges' campaign. Remember Betsy Hodges?
I sure do.
Held an impromptu pizza party outside the convention center to block endorsement. It does, you do wonder about then when we talk about the extremes in the parties, does this just encourage the extremes for having more power than they really should and sort of setting the tone? I mean, no one was elected mayor yesterday or over the weekend, but it's based on some of these questions from people who were there. That's the sense you get, that it's almost this, performance act more than it has anything to do with really trying to give yourselves the most viable candidate. But then again, it's Minneapolis, so most viable candidate might be a socialist at this point. I don't know. Like I said, Jacob Fry. Now, the other thing is, I mean, I'm not saying he's beyond criticism or above criticism, but it's just so funny to see him be in a position where he has to establish his lefty bona fides. I mean, I never thought we'd see the day where that would potentially, indeed, even be the case. I've got one other item for News on the March, and we got, I think, some sound from this very odd story involving a Delta Airlines plane that I want to get to in part 3 of this particular edition of News on the March. Maybe we have some delegates who are at the convention. And did you buy the pastrami? Or did you get a discount? Like, did they at the beginning of the day, here's a discount, half off the pastrami. You show them this card or, this piece of paper, this coupon.
Yep.
And you get half off the pastrami.
Tell us about the food. I'm more interested in the food than I am the actual political process.
Which is unfortunate, isn't it?
A little bit.
But makes some sense, too. 64686, that's the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line. Let me know how the pastrami sandwich went.
Gatorade is the #1 proven electrolyte blend designed to hydrate better than water. So you can lose more sweat and raise your game. Gatorade, is it in you?
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.
Down.
Man.
Number 3 from today's edition of News on the March. Don't forget Top 5 at 5 coming up, top of the hour. Johnny Athletic will join at 5:30. Is Blake more prepared to do a Top 5 at 5 when you have to bail?
I'll do the top 5 and then I'll head.
Oh, awesome. Appreciate that. So apparently we had kind of a scary situation near the Minot International Airport yesterday. The FAA confirms that it was investigating, I should say the incident took place Friday. We heard about it yesterday. It's investigating Friday's close call involving a Delta regional jet, SkyWest 3788, and an Air Force B-52 bomber near Minot International Airport. And apparently the B-52 was performing a flyover at the North Dakota State Fair. So they get their state fair out of the way early in North Dakota, apparently.
Well, they got to fit it in around the greatest state fair ever, which is ours.
What if they just went head-to-head?
Good luck.
No chance.
Vladi Divac.
And the pilot of the Delta jet apparently had to fairly aggressively maneuver to be sure there was no collision between the two vehicles. So I've got a lot of questions about this story, but we got some sound. I think this was sound captured by a passenger.
Appears so. In
the Delta plane as the pilot got on the PA to say, look, man, you probably felt like you were on a roller coaster there for a second. Did a dipsy-do, but here's kind of, I'm going to try to explain it to you. I'm going to try to be as transparent as possible. So the audio is not great, but I think it's listenable. Let's listen to the pilot inside that jet.
Sorry about the aggressive maneuver. It caught me by surprise. This is not normal at all. I don't know why they didn't give us a heads up. You probably saw the airplane kind of sort of coming at us. Nobody told us about it, and so we continued, and air traffic. There's no radar here, so the tower is controlled. The tower does everything visually, and so they said report about 6 miles from the airport. So we did that. I think he realized that the spacing wasn't going to work, and he said turn right. And I looked over, and there was an airplane, which those of you on the right-hand side, I thought it was a small airplane like the one you see at the airport right now doing touch and goes. And he said turn right. I said there's an airplane over there, and he says turn left. And then by the time we read back the clearance, looked over and saw the airplane that was kind of coming on a converging course with us. And so given his speed, it was a military, I don't know how fast they were going, but they were a lot faster than us. I felt it was the safest thing to do to turn behind it. So sorry about the aggressive maneuver. It caught me by surprise. This is not normal at all. I don't know why they didn't give us a heads up, because the Air Force Base does have radar, and nobody said, hey, there's also a B-52 in the pattern. Long story short, it was not fun, but I do apologize for it, and thank you for understanding. It's not a fun day.
Yeah. Captain. Sully.
I was going to say, man, that's pretty much the clinical example, right, of we almost just died, but I'm going to stay calm. I'm explaining to you precisely what I did. I'm not going to panic. I'm not going to lose my mind. I'm not going to express probably the anger I feel that we were put in this position in the first place, where I felt compelled to make those kinds of maneuvers. That's the writer, long gone, great new journalism writer named Tom Wolfe. He wrote about the space program, and he wrote about some of the pilots, some of them even airline, who later went on to be airline pilots, that the whole mentality of, even in the wake of potentially great danger, being that voice of calm.
Yes.
And reassurance.
You need them.
So very different than like in the motion picture Airplane, where it ends up you're getting the exact opposite, where you got people panicking and adding to the panic of the passengers as well. Like as the story goes back then, it almost felt like a lot of them either had a Southern accent or they used one, because it also seemed kind of like down home-ish and kind of familiar and country-ish. And now we got this doohickey that's just not functioning right, but we're gonna do a couple other tests. And we're going to see if we can get that doohickey back in. You dumb it down, you simple it down, and passengers can get nervous anyway, and you reassure them. So I'll take the pilot at his word that he wasn't trying to do anything, like he wasn't trying to be more of a hero than he needed to be by suddenly, doing these diversion tactics like he's a fighter plane. I'm gonna take him at his word that he did what he felt he had to do in the circumstances. But he certainly did try, to his credit, to lay it out. Because I've been on planes, and I'm sure you have too, where weird stuff happens. And you never get any explanation. It's almost like, and you made it, so you assume, okay, well, I guess all's well that it ends well. I remember being on approach into San Diego one night. And nothing happened. Like, there was no turbulence or anything on towards the landing. But the alarm, there's an alarm that kept saying, ground proximity, pull up. And I'm hearing this thing.
That's not good.
I can hear this thing from the cockpit. And it does kind of wake you up, because it's night. You're into San Diego. You're kind of tired anyway. So, you like to get explanations of things like that. And well, wait a minute. Was that just did a button get pushed that shouldn't have? Or was it just obviously a malfunction because we made it? But I give him credit for at least trying to explain whatever took place there. And a B-52 is no small article.
No.
That's a big-ass plane.
Yes. And that's what's terrifying. I know that there's the Air Force Base up there, and they've got them all over the place, and we're happy for the flyover, but
yeah,
why are we having so many issues?
I don't know, man.
Is it we've always had these issues, but now we're just hearing about them more? We've talked about that all the time, and I wonder how many people actually know that at a lot of these regional airports, like, there's really not like the radar that's at MSP or LaGuardia or San Diego, that it is just a guy out there looking around and going, yeah, you're good. You're clear, Bob. Go ahead and land on runway 1, as opposed to being able to actually track and see. And why are we having trouble coordinating? Because everybody, you think of this, you think of the DCA helicopter crash, right? I mean, that horrible tragedy where the Black Hawk helicopter is going down the Potomac, while that American Airlines flight from Kansas City is just trying to land.
Alleged near misses since then, which is back to why? How can you have them anywhere near there any longer? I have no idea. But yeah, there's a lot of those kinds of questions, and I don't know if we have any details on. So did he dive? Did he do a sharp right turn? Was the plane upside down at one point in order to maneuver? It sounded like it was pretty abrupt, whatever it was, enough to where he felt like he had to bring it up. And I have not heard. I don't know if any passengers have responded to any of that or not. I'm not exactly sure. And also in the old days, I don't think they do this either. I have flown long enough where you could listen in to some of the cockpit conversation with the airport. Okay.
With air traffic control.
Air traffic.
Interesting.
And it would be, and sometimes it'd be kind of cool. It's kind of interesting. But then you get in a situation a couple times where the weather's terrible and the planes are getting stacked up, right? Because it's hard to land as many planes in an airport as quickly when you got weather that you got to deal with too. And then you hear stuff like, different pilots kind of lobbying for how much fuel they have left. And you're going, I would generally, when it got tense like that, then I would change the channel.
Yeah, you don't want to know.
I don't know, because, most of the time, it's obviously not going to be anything bad, but you don't want to project because you're not in the cockpit, but they're talking about figuring out how much fuel they have, and I got to go ahead of that guy. That American jet, he's got to be behind me because I've got, I'm down to, my last 6 gallons here of ethyl.
I don't think you want to know that stuff. No.
It's exactly it. So at some point, it was almost better to not, I think, follow through on it. So anybody who was on that plane, you can text us and let us know how that went, how scary it got.
It does make me feel good that, though, these are the people that are flying for us, right?
Yes.
Professionals that can remain calm.
Yes.
Kind of talked about it, that know the procedures, that can go on instinct a little bit if they have to, and will find a way to just get the plane on the ground. Because that can't be fun for the pilots, looking out the window and going, is that a B-52 over there coming right at us?
How reassuring can it be that air traffic control says turn right, pilot guy says, well, there's a plane over there, and okay, I'll turn left.
Exactly.
It's just that's
what I mean.
That's not helpful, as a couple of our listeners have.
And these air traffic controllers, we've seen, Newark had the big problems a few months ago because they are completely overworked, and that's not a spot where you want people running a bunch of overtime, right? That's led to some of these close calls.
Yes.
It's a tough job, and they're, I think, having trouble finding people to do it.
I kind of got outed here. Hearing that what you heard, that's a first-class problem. If you sit in the back, you would have had no idea.
I was going to let that go.
Yeah, that was the danger of bringing it up. I knew I was boxing myself in.
Yeah.
I was at the state fair, writes Darren, when this happened. We didn't really notice the Delta plane making a sharp turn or anything, but we did see both planes in the air during the flyover. I'll take him at his word. I don't know, but I'm not even. Again, there's a million air shows that things go fine.
Of course, million flights every day.
Air shows, I go, oh man, I know. Yeah, really? Are we tempting the Wright brother gods to go down that road? I'm not sure. All right, top 5 at 5, which you're going to be able to be a part of, right? Before you bow out, what do we have?
After a really impressive series against the worst team in baseball, the Twins get to take on one of the best. And is Scotty Scheffler finally happy?
Gatorade is the #1 proven electrolyte blend designed to hydrate better than water. So you can lose more sweat and raise your game. Gatorade, is it in you?
This podcast is sponsored by Talkspace. You know when you're really stressed or not feeling so great about your life or about yourself? Talking to someone who understands can really help. But who is that person? How do you find them? Where do you even start? Talkspace. Talkspace makes it easy to get the support you need. With Talkspace, you can go online, answer a few questions about your preferences, and be matched with a therapist. And because you'll meet your therapist online, you don't have to take time off work or arrange childcare. You'll meet on your schedule, wherever you feel most at ease. If you're depressed, stressed, struggling with a relationship, or if you want some counseling for you and your partner, or just need a little extra one-on-one support, Talkspace is here for you. Plus, Talkspace works with most major insurers, and most insured members have a $0 copay. No insurance? No problem. Now get $80 off of your first month with promo code SPACE80 when you go to Talkspace.com. Match with a licensed therapist today at Talkspace.com. Save $80 with code SPACE80 at Talkspace.com.